February 15, 1898, the U.S. battleship Maine is sunk in Havana Harbor while protecting American citizens. Relations between the United States and Spain turn toward a confrontation.
On April 24th, Spain declares war on the United States. The first shots of the war are fired halfway around the world in Manila Bay in the Philippines, between the U.S. Navy and the Spanish fleet. The Navy wins a decisive victory.
For the first time in its history, the United States is thrown into a foreign war. When it ends on August 12, 1898, the U.S. finds itself in possession of Cuba, Guam, Puerto Rico, and the Philippines.
Thrown into a war it did not want, the United States comes out of it a world power.
On February 4, 1899, Philippine rebels attack U.S. forces, and another war begins, one that will last for 3 years.
As the veterans of these wars return to America, the wounds and diseases they bring with them fester in an atmosphere of rejection and neglect. They are mustered out of service with total benefits of $15.60, their discharge pay. Colonel Theodore Roosevelt, who led many of these veterans into battle, said to them, "The world will be kind to you for 10 days. Few receive even that much attention."
Ignored by the country they had served, these veterans of the Spanish-American War, the Philippine Insurrection, and the Boxer Rebellion of 1900 in China turned to each other for care and assistance.
In Ohio, Colorado, and Pennsylvania, veterans joined forces to promote their common needs. Together they had fought wars, and now, together again, they were fighting for medical care and pensions and a future in the country they had served.
Romanus, Putnam, Hale, Kelly, Smith, Hansberry, the leaders step forward, the ranks form, and the veterans of America are on the move.
As the first decade of the new century moves on, more and more veterans join the movements, and as time goes by, the smaller groups begin to join forces.
The amalgamation of veterans groups continues until August 1913, when, combined in strength and purpose, they become one organization, called the Army of the Philippines, Cuba, and Puerto Rico. A year later, the name is changed to Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States, and becomes effective on August 1, 1914, the day World War I begins.
A ladies' auxiliary is formed in recognition of the importance of the veterans' wives, and a magazine carries the veterans' message across America and around the world.
In an early issue of Foreign Service, a writer states, "We have entered into a new epoch in the history of veterans organizations. Such societies have come and gone, but our house is built upon the rock of eternity, not upon the sands of time."
As war sweeps through Europe, America remains neutral. But when her ships are attacked on the high seas and her citizens killed, she declares war on Germany, April 6, 1917. Hundreds of VFW members sign up and serve under the command of another VFW member, General John J. Pershing.
Within days of the American troops arriving on the front lines, the VFW lobbies Congress for insurance benefits for them while they are there and medical care when they return. In October 1917, the VFW prevails and the War Risk Insurance Act is passed.
From their first shots in September of 1917 to their final victory on November 11, 1918, the Americans endure over a year of grueling, brutal battle. The price for making the world safe for democracy is high. Of the 2,171,132 Americans who served, 116,988 are dead. 204,132 come home wounded.
To assist the returning veterans, the VFW establishes its first Veteran Service Office in Washington, D.C. in 1919.
Again, when the victory celebrations are over, the veterans are quickly forgotten. As a new decade begins, VFW membership soars. 300 new posts are mustered, bringing the total to 500, and membership reaches 20,000. It is the decade of the Roaring Twenties, and the VFW sets the course for Veterans Affairs.
Years later, a historian would write, "The history of veterans legislation begins in effect with the goals established by the VFW in that era."
The needs of veterans received the attention of President Calvin Coolidge when the VFW National Legislative Committee presents its program to him.
They asked that Congress form a House Veterans Affairs Committee,
That a World War I bonus be granted.
that hospital care be given to all veterans.
The president listens and then puts their ideas into his message to Congress.
Within the year, Congress establishes the House Veterans Affairs Committee. Its first chairman is a VFW member.
1924, Congress passes the World War I bonus. The president vetoes it, and the Senate overrides the veto. Those veterans who earned just $30 per month while fighting and winning World War I are now given a 20-year paid-up endowment policy. The fight, led by the VFW, is won.
This is also the decade in which the VFW establishes the Buddy Poppy program and incorporates it into the rehabilitation program for World War I vets. And the VFW National Home at Eaton Rapids, Michigan opens its doors to veterans' widows and orphans.
VFW membership surges ahead by the midpoint of the Roaring '20s, hitting a record of 67,623. As its strength, power, and influence increase, the VFW goes beyond being just a veteran service organization. It becomes a rallying force for all Americans.
Through its newly created Americanization Committee, the VFW promotes patriotism through a better understanding of what America stands for and what the American way of life is all about. Newcomers to America are taught English through classes held in VFW posts.
In 1927, when Charles Lindbergh lands in Paris, the VFW is the first organization to publicly honor Lucky Lindy.
1929, the bottom falls out of the economy. Suddenly, all of America experiences the hardships that veterans have endured for years.
Veterans ask that their 20-year endowments be paid in cash, now when they need the money. Congress ignores them.
1929 is also the year of the Polar Bear expedition to Russia to bring home the bodies of Americans killed there in World War I. Working as a private corporation, the VFW is able to negotiate directly with the Communist government of Russia, and on December 28, 86 of those Americans are returned home.
(1930). The Depression grows worse. A wave of socialism sweeps America. Soon many Americans are joining in the communist celebration of May Day.
The VFW decides to counter these demonstrations, and Loyalty Day is born, a day on which Americans celebrate America and everything America stands for.
VFW headquarters finds a new home in Kansas City, Missouri, making it easily accessible to members from around the country, and it remains there to this day.
It's hard to sing when you are in the depths of depression, but in 1931, the VFW has everyone singing the Star-Spangled Banner.
The fight took over 3 years, and the ammunition consisted of over 5 million signatures on petitions to Congress. But on March 4, 1931, the VFW celebrated victory as President Hoover signed the legislation making the Star-Spangled Banner our national anthem.
Another VFW victory is achieved this year when the government allows veterans to borrow up to 50% of the value of their 20-year endowment bonus. But now, in the ever-worsening depression, the veterans want a cash bonus.
In 1932, VFW members join with their buddies from World War I and march in Washington, D.C. in support of a cash payment of the World War I Veterans Bonus. Though rejected again, they get their message across. America's veterans are organized and ready to fight for their rights.
Franklin Delano Roosevelt becomes president on March 4, 1933. His first request to Congress, cut the budget, and Congress does just that.
Hardest hit are the veterans. Many are cut from compensation and pension rolls.
The VFW, now 165,540 members strong, fights back. The cuts are restored in 1934.